Hello. Welcome to the pod. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Don't Just Throw a Party, Throw a Bash with Shawn and Kenny. I'm Kenny.
Woo, and I'm Shawn. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. Kenny, what are we chatting about today?
We're talking about photo booths.
Whoop, whoop. Before we get into that, did you have any events over the weekend?
I did. I had an awesome wedding. It was a beautiful country club, golf course setting, permanent tent, very similar to Walden Woods.
Nice. Did you guys have a photo booth at that wedding?
We did not have a photo booth at that wedding.
Well, that's a bummer. I wish they should have added one. It probably would have been a better wedding with a photo booth.
It wasn't as exciting as... no, I'm just kidding. It was an awesome wedding. We had a bash. But yeah, no, it would be better with a photo booth, right?
Yeah.
Everything's better with a photo booth. It's
It
one
really
of the
is.
greatest add-ons that we have. What about you? Did you? I'm sure you.
I did.
You're like photo booth guy.
That's
To
right.
me, like you've always been like photo booth. You're like the photo booth guy.
Thank you. That's kind of how we met, was photo booths.
I was planning to tell that story. Tell me about your weddings.
So yeah,
Photo booths.
we had two weddings, and each wedding had a photo booth, specifically the selfie mirror photo booth, which is a ton of fun, and we'll touch more on that later in the episode. But photo booths are just a great way to enhance your wedding, one of the most popular add-ons, and I think one of the most well-spent add-ons.
Would you say it's the most popular add-on?
It really is. I mean, I don't have the actual data in front of me. I should pull that up in our system, but it definitely, 9 out of 10 weddings seem to have a photo booth, or they ask about it and want it, and
Because it's totally dope.
it's totally dope. Make sure to add it on early, because we do have 4 selfie mirrors, 2 classic slim photo booths. We got so many photo booths, but you got to lock them up early, because sometimes they do book up and they might not be available for your event.
What's just for the people who just absolutely have been under a rock
Yes.
for their entire lives, tell us what a photo booth actually is. Can you do that? Explain it to us.
So
wait. Hold on. This is how synonymous you are with photo booths for me. I didn't even know you. I was working a party for a great party with Christina Salmon, Clink & Co. Shout out to Clink & Co., one of our sponsors and one of our guests. And one of the guests, we had a photo booth. It was like a classic slim type photo booth. And so this guest came up and asked me, hey, I've got this event coming up. Can you possibly run some photo booths for me? It's for the Detroit Tigers.
Yes.
And I'm like, oh my God, yeah, absolutely. I can totally do that for you, because you always say yes immediately. That's your answer every time.
We will figure this out.
Yes, I can do it.
Yes.
So then we talk the next couple of days or whatever, and he doesn't want one photo booth. He wants 3 photo booths with prints, separate locations at Comerica Stadium. I'm like, dude, I got one photo booth. I can't do 3 of those. And I was like, but wait a minute. In my mind, I had always been aware of you. We had never met, but I'd always been aware of you. And I knew that you had not just one photo booth. I was so aware that you had multiple photo booths. So I knew that you might be the guy that could do this gig. So I'm like, hey, man, I can't do the gig, but I'm not going to be a jerk.
Awesome.
I'm going to call somebody up that I don't even know yet, but I know you had the reputation. I knew you had the gear. So I called Shawn, and he actually answered, and we started talking, and he ended up getting the gig, and that's how we met. And then we ended up starting to work together. After that, we started collaborating some more.
So many cool things came from that. So thank you. I couldn't thank you enough for that, because obviously, in this industry, it can be a little competitive, a little chippy.
Sure.
But I've definitely, in the last 5-10 years, I've been more of a proponent of strategic partnerships, even if it's not your company. Hey, it's good to know people in the industry, because we can all come together and make for an awesome event. And that was a super cool event. We had 3 photo booths at Comerica Park. We had
awesome.
One on the field with the scoreboard as the backdrop. We had one in the clubhouse, which had to be the visitors clubhouse, could not be the home. They have weird baseball superstitions. But we had Miguel,
like if you shoot in there, it's bad luck for the team or something?
I think it was like that. They had everything in the, the away team dugout and everything.
Right on. Good to know.
So still super interesting, and clearly those rooms still have crazy famous people in them. The New York Yankees or whatever visiting team is in that day. But an amazing experience nonetheless. We had photo booths set up in 3 different areas. So that was a ton of fun. And, we can do, different photo booth styles. So typically what a photo booth is basically a device, whether it's a camera or maybe an iPad or a webcam that's literally mounted on a tripod or a kiosk or inside of a selfie mirror, taking photos and sometimes video GIFs or video bursts or even video testimonials of your guests. Wearing funny props. Some people call them, taking funny photos, or, we like to call it the selfie mirror or the selfie booth. So we got a ton of different ways to do it. And it's not always just in a booth, right? We still call it a photo booth.
Well, that's kind of old school.
It's kind of old school. It was popular, pre-COVID. COVID, no pun intended, really seemed to kill that off.
One of my questions is this. Is it actually a booth? That's one of my ridiculous questions.
We do still have actual booths that people can climb inside, and the photo booths in there. For a minute, we had the inflatable booths, which really, to me, right away, I wasn't a fan of. Once again, no pun intended, the fan that runs the inflatable booth is so loud. So it's a very awkward experience when you're at dinner and all you can hear is this giant fan. It's basically a bounce house,
right?
That you climb inside to take a photo. So we typically steer away from the actual enclosures. A lot of times you'll hear it called open air photo booth.
Yeah.
And what's great about that is it's exposing the fun to all your guests. They can see what's happening, and you can fit more people in there. If you have an enclosure, you're kind of limited to maybe 4 or 6 people.
Right.
But when you do an open air photo booth with a backdrop, you can get
you could have
10, 12, 30 people in there and get some epic photos.
Yeah, that's awesome. I personally love a photo booth.
Yeah.
I like the open air style much better. I always felt whenever I was going into an actual photo booth, I know this is going to probably sound a little weird, but I'm sure there's probably other people who feel just like I did.
Yeah.
I felt like pressure almost when I went into that photo booth. Like there's like a pressure to perform.
Right.
Like you have to get in there and do something wacky or silly and,
And you know what? And I think people they tend to avoid them.
I would.
Yeah. They don't want to get in there.
Now I love it. Now I like doing it because it's not so, because I guess I feel like I can just be more myself. I don't feel like I'm going into this secret little room to do nefarious things.
Yes, right. Which, and I get it. Some people, they still ask, we really want the enclosure because we want that intimate vibe, I guess.
And if you want that, we can deliver
We can deliver that as well.
It's doable.
It just takes up a lot of room. It's not as visually appealing. But the open air, what's cool is you can, while you're waiting in line to use a photo booth, you can see the other people in the photo booth having fun, and it kind of gives you inspiration, and it lets you realize, okay, I'm not the only one who's being goofy and having fun. Everybody is.
Maybe that's what it is for me. Is it just makes me feel more relaxed because I'm seeing those other. Maybe that is what it is. Maybe that's the key.
Yeah,
I think that's a great point. So let's talk about the different types of photo booths, because you have at Bash, we have a tremendous variety.
Yes.
So why don't you kind of just go through the different types of photo booths that there are? And again, too, this is for people who are out there who are planning a wedding, planning an event, people who are in the event space. If you don't know about these things, we're going to break them down for you. We're going to help you understand what they are, how they work, what kinds of questions that you need to be asking the companies that you're working with or the vendors that you're working with. Hopefully it's us.
Yes.
So that you can have the best event possible. So if you don't know these things, hopefully we can answer some of that stuff for you and give you some tips. So just break down kind of the different types of photo booths that there are available.
Right. There's definitely, a lot of different types, and let's start with the DIY photo booth, right? We've all seen it where somebody just kind of sets up an iPad. Literally, I saw one just leaning on a wall, facing outwards.
I've seen it done with a phone.
With a phone, right. Let's just put a phone, so got to consider those things and the level of expectations you have for your own event. If that's what you're fine with, then by all means, there's definitely apps out there you can download. I suggest getting familiar with that app before the wedding, so on and so forth, because we at Bash obviously have some very advanced options, and we have some simple options as well that can maybe be more affordable.
They're all simple because we're going to show up and run them for you. So
exactly.
They're all simple for the guests.
They're all simple for the guests. And so that way, some of the more affordable options we have are the straight to phone. So maybe you don't want prints. Your guests don't need prints, which is becoming more and more popular. People just want it right in their phone because they're just going to put it on social media. It's earth friendly and it could be, cost effective. So that's our classic slim photo booth, which is basically a kiosk that we can either set in the corner and just face outwards. We can set up a backdrop. We can set up some really pretty scenes with the classic slim photo booth.
So really, that's every photo booth that you have.
Yes.
Every photo booth you have will do straight to phone, straight to email.
Yes.
It'll send them out wirelessly. You do not have to have a print at all, ever.
Right.
At a wedding.
Yes.
If you don't, at any event, if you don't want to.
Yeah, there's a tip. If you're looking for ways to maybe save money,
eliminate the prints.
Eliminate the prints. We offer a discount if you eliminate the prints. Ask your vendor that you're going with. If you're not going with Bash, good luck. But ask them, will they eliminate the prints so you can save some money?
Subtle little bit of shade there.
And then we got another cool option. So we have a handheld roaming photo booth.
That's cool.
Super cool, super unique.
What does that look like?
Literally, it's basically the classic slim circle photo booth, but it's handheld and it can be walked around the dance floor. We like to say, get the photo booth out of the corner. Typically, photo booths are put in the corner, they're put in the cocktail area, and sometimes they get overlooked. Sometimes they pull the guests away from the dance floor. We suggest keeping the photo booth in the same room as the reception if at all possible, because sometimes they pull the energy from the dance floor.
Keep that party energy up, baby.
Keep it close to the dance floor. So what's cool about the handheld roaming photo booth is literally we can walk right up to the guests, walk right up to grandma or grandpa that maybe is in a wheelchair, and now they can get involved in the photo booth. And it can be a lot of fun that way.
You're going to end up getting the guy like me that doesn't want to get in the photo booth. And
we're going to get him in the photo booth.
Because you bring the photo booth out.
We're bringing it to you. We don't need to get you to it.
I love it. What other kinds?
So basically, if you didn't want to go with either the handheld roaming photo booth or the classic slim photo booth, probably our most popular option is the selfie mirror photo booth.
The amazing
selfie mirror photo booth. Since we have added these on to Bash Entertainment about 4 years ago, there's been nothing more requested, more sought after, nothing that has amped up the wedding more than the selfie mirror. I've had some awesome dance lights. I've had the best speakers I brought out to weddings, the coolest low-lying fog or whatever. But the selfie mirror, time and time again, people walk by it and you can hear them. They go, "What is that?"
Right. What is it? Tell us what it is.
So selfie mirror is a 6-foot tall, two-way magic mirror that talks to your guests. We have an attendant hang out with the mirror booth to kind of help the guests through, but it's essentially, some people call it a magic mirror, and it displays graphics on the screen and takes photos of the guests and then displays those photos in a giant, 55-inch screen. Vertical screen.
Don't ruin the magic for them.
Yeah, so that way,
tell them what's behind the mirror.
Right. There's a lot of magic happening behind there.
It's all
but then
magic.
that way the guests see their so often I go
right. You get to view
Yes.
your photo immediately. It pops up on the mirror on a giant display.
Yes.
That you can see right
Ton of
away,
fun.
so you know exactly what it looks like.
Yeah, and that half the time that's part of the experience. Guests, they lose it. They top of their lungs laughing and pointing. Oh my God.
And when that happens too, what if they hate the photo?
They can retake it. There's a retake button.
So you get to see it. You don't have to wait for prints to pop out. You can just see it come up. You can go, oh, like Shawn always says, oh, look, my eyes are closed.
Right. Which then we have cool options too. We have virtual props that we can drag and drop. Digital props. So kind of like Snapchat filters, I'll commonly describe it as. And we can literally drag and drop these things over your face and then save a photo. Say somebody's eyes are always closed. Like I feel like my eyes are always closed when I record these podcasts. I wish I could drop some digital glasses over my eyes. But on a selfie mirror photo booth and on the classic slim photo booth, we have virtual props. So, and that was super key when we were doing events post-COVID.
Right.
And people were concerned about.
People are still very leery about coming up and touching some prop that some other person may have touched.
Right.
Or even just the photo booth attendant had touched.
You're right.
Like, I don't know that person.
I don't know that guy. So
gotta be careful.
Now that we got the virtual props, people seem to love it. Super unique, super, people are just looking for those next level wow factors at their wedding. I want my wedding to be different than the last weddings I went to over the last 10 years. And these kind of things really take your wedding to the next level.
Well, and I know that the selfie mirror has been in existence for a long time. This is not anything that's by any means brand new.
Right.
But there are so many people who still have no idea that the selfie mirror even exists, let alone how cool it is.
Right. That's why it's always awesome when we have the opportunity to jump on a Zoom call with wedding clients and show them our keynote presentation.
Get to see a video of it, see it in action.
Exactly. Because that way, and like you said, so many times I always ask them, have you ever heard of the selfie mirror? And they commonly say, no, we haven't.
Don't know any what, what's the selfie mirror?
What is the selfie mirror? Please tell me more. So people love it.
What other types of photo booths would you like to tell us about? What do you want?
So we also, so we have, a couple, basically our next most popular, it's growing in popularity, is the 360 video booth, or the 360 photo booth, you'll hear it called. So essentially what that is, and a lot of people also don't know what that is, but I guarantee it, you've seen it in your timeline.
You've seen it. You've
seen it. It's very popular.
You just don't know.
It's a 360 slow-mo video. Essentially, we use a GoPro that is, fixed to an arm that circles around the guests as they use the photo booth.
So the guest stands on a pedestal.
Yep.
And then there's an arm with a camera on it that's attached to the pedestal that circles the guest as they're there and takes a slow motion video.
Yes.
So they can be there doing some action poses,
maybe throwing confetti,
doing whatever, right? And it's going to be this cool kind of like video GIF burst type presentation after the photo's done,
right?
Or the video's done, right?
Yeah, super fun. You've definitely seen it scrolling in your timelines. And
you've seen them at every red carpet event, as well. That's where the first place I had ever seen one was.
Yeah, they typically were like a really high end corporate add-on for company events, and they've basically worked their way into high end weddings, and now they're showing up at more and more weddings.
It's becoming more mainstream.
And you got to be careful, though. Like we always say, not all photo booths are created equal. Not all 360 booths are created equal. Some of them are literally...
Speaking of using a phone.
Yeah, they're just going to, when you walk up, they're going to say, well, give us your phone. And they mount your phone in the photo booth. And then ours is, it's automated. So we hit a button and the arm goes around. Whereas some of these are literally... It's like they spin it.
It's a
manual.
It's a guy.
Yeah.
Just spinning the wheel.
Some guy named Joe is just going to whip that thing around and hope that it goes around, just right. So if your 360 photo booth is very, very cheap add-on, make sure to ask them some of those things. Hey, what kind of software are you using to capture the video? How are the guests then going to get the video?
Right, because that's all like important as well.
Yeah, so and sometimes overlooked. But.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk a little bit then. Are there any other types of photo booths that you want to talk about? The 360s, 'cause that's like the penultimate.
Yeah,
that's the.
So there's really one other. There's really one other scenario, and we typically just reutilize our Classic Slim. It's the video testimonial booth. We can set up the Classic Slim to take video, so your guests walk up, and instead of taking a photo, they want to record a short 2 to 5 minute testimonial of how much they love you.
A message,
right. So to speak, so that you have this, collection of memories from your guests of how much they appreciate you guys over the years.
This idea.
It's super great.
How many times have you been in a wedding where they have like a tree and you're supposed to go and jot down a favorite memory of the bride and groom, or
and nobody does
a piece of advice on what the newlyweds should be doing, right? And then you place it on the tree for them to read later. I don't want to take the 10 minutes or 15 or 20 minutes it's going to take me to physically write out a story while I'm at your wedding trying to eat, drink, dance, and have a great time.
Yeah, and who knows how drunk they are by the time they're writing that message, so it might not even be
legible.
love
you, man.
Yeah, that's going to be way better as a video.
It is going to be way better. I was just thinking that's going to get into the videos too with those drunk people.
But it'll be epic.
Man, is that going to be good. That's going to be hilarious.
Yeah, no, the video testimonial booths are super cool. And you can utilize an awesome backdrop with a neon sign or, so on and so forth to help enhance that video testimonial.
I'm super into the digital options. That's the thing that I love the most. I don't like the prints. I think it's silly. I oftentimes, anytime I've been at a wedding, you see them laying around on the floor afterwards. Very rarely do you see them like when you go to somebody's house, they don't very often have the print that they received from the photo booth at the last wedding that they went to still hanging around somewhere in their house. But if you get it digital, you're damn well going to be able to pull that thing up on your phone.
Yeah.
Because everybody's got those photos in their phone that they're ready to pull up. Or it's going to be on your IG. It's going to be on your Facebook, whatever, social, Twitter, whatever, right?
Yeah, no, digital is definitely the future. And speaking of the future, what is, super forward thinking is, speaking of our sponsor, is having a co-working space.
Look at you.
That because that seems to be super popular right now. If you're working from home, you want to get out of the house and have your own space.
You need Grit and Lavender.
You need Grit and Lavender. Shout out to Natalie at Grit and Lavender. She has this awesome company in downtown Brighton, and you can set up to have your co-working space there. So I just want to make sure to give some quick details. They are located on 211 North 1st Street. That's right, in downtown Brighton. So make sure to check them out in Suite 200. You can go on in there and you can set up. You can, if you just need a place for the day to get away out of the house, or if you want to have a long-term office that's shared because it's much more affordable, you can do that. So make sure to check out Grit and Lavender. We're going to connect some of their contact info in the post. And thank you for sponsoring this episode.
Thank you, Grit and Lavender. We appreciate you. Speaking of affordable, let's talk about the affordability of photo booth add-on. When you get a photo booth standalone, not as a part of a DJ package or a wedding package or whatever the case might be, it's going to probably, you're going to think it's a little bit expensive, I would imagine.
Yes, a photo booth
by itself.
Right. So as as a company, we offer photo booths as an independent option. Say you don't need a DJ, you just need a photo booth. But when you're adding a photo booth onto one of our wedding packages with our DJ, you're going to get a discount. So typically a photo booth to add on by itself is around $1,000. But if you add it on to an event, you typically save $300 or so to add on a selfie mirror rather than just renting it independently by itself. So there's a nugget, right? If you are wanting a photo booth, make sure that you're getting
pricing them out individually. Take into consideration that when you pair it with a package, it is going to be more affordable. It is going to be a better rate.
Right.
Because we're already there. We already got a bunch of equipment there. It's in our best interest to be able to use more of our equipment.
It's not making any money if it's still at the shop, not being used.
So it's in our interest to discount that for you as well and make sure that that's a part of a package that's affordable so that you can have all of the things that you want at your event, right?
Yeah, and there's ways to still enhance the photo booth. Say you're like, well, hey, budget is not necessarily a concern. We want to take this photo booth experience over the top. You can get custom props. So we can do custom physical props. Say you want to get signs with your name on them for in the photo booth. Because that's another popular option, not just wearable hats, but the signs that people hold up, right? And they say like, best wedding ever. Well, we can actually order you custom props that say your bride and groom name or your wedding couple name and really personalize the event. And we can even personalize the screen to have your guys' personal information on the experience as the guests are using it. Say you're having a Gatsby themed wedding or you're having a rustic themed wedding. You have a theme that you're trying to get across. I often tell people a great way to help get that theme across to your guests is to incorporate it into the photo booth. The backdrop. We could get you a great Gatsby themed backdrop or a rustic barn wall backdrop to help you're having a backyard tent wedding. How do you get it across that this is really supposed to feel like a rustic barn wedding? Well, you can do things like that to help.
Or your favorite, the hedge wall. You're
the
all
green
about
hedge
the
wall.
hedge wall
So
right
hot
now.
right now.
You're all about it right now. Which I like that. I like the hedge wall as well. You just touched on something that I wanted to kind of elaborate on a little bit more. The way that the prints work versus the digital option, we didn't really kind of get into the digital option.
Yeah.
So with the digital option, and I want to focus on this too, because we talked about trends in another episode. And one of the trends that we're seeing is a move towards a greener, more sustainable businesses, right? People are looking for these types of options. This is one of those options. Eliminating those prints. A, you're going to save yourself a little bit of money, right? B, it's a much greener option because you're not wasting all that photo paper and ink and all that other crap, right? But then C, when you get these digital prints or the digital copies, they come directly to your device, and then the bride and groom also get the entire file for every single picture.
Right.
And we can post that for you as well. You guys they can take it and do whatever the heck they want with it.
That's right.
So then they literally have an entire scrapbook digitally.
Yes.
Ready to go for them.
Right. Which people love, right? They're always so amazed when we're at weddings and we're like, what's your cell phone? So we can text you the image. They're like, wow, that's awesome. Right. And it is, then they're instantly sharing it the next day. We've all seen where somebody takes a photo of a photo holding it in their hand and that's what they post online. And it doesn't look so great, or it's just a photo on a table and they take a photo of the photo and then that's how they share it on Facebook and it looks, not as good. Whereas when it's a digital copy of that photo, it's nice and crisp and clean and flat and shows up perfectly online. And then a lot of the images are GIFs or bursts, which a GIF is basically 3 photos in a row.
Is it GIF or GIF?
GIF is the peanut butter.
This is a debate. This is
a big debate. And whatever you want to call it, GIF, whatever.
I call it GIF.
That's me too. I always call it a GIF.
It's it's graphic image file, right? So it's a hard G, so I use a hard G.
Yeah, hard G. Because you are a G.
What?
So, that is 3 photos in a row, and then a burst is 10 photos in a row, and they're looped. So they're these looped little images.
I know, I love those.
And people love them. They burst out laughing, and it's a ton of fun.
Yeah, those are awesome.
One other thing, though, I wanted to mention.
Do tell.
Even though, and this is a caveat for the print, so say prints are still your goal.
Well, listen, and I don't I'm not like trying to shame people into like, don't do prints, it's not green or whatever. No, if you want prints, we'll give you prints. A lot of people do like that. A lot of people love to have the physical scrapbook.
They do.
Which you guys, that's part of the...
Right, we always
process
provide a scrapbook or a memory book, we'll call it, so that way you have that keepsake. You go home that night with some of the best photos. And another thing I like to tell people when they're considering adding on a photo booth, but you can tell maybe they're wondering, is it in their budget, is, hey, if you're considering wedding favors for your guests, because often you're, as a wedding couple, you're tasked not only to invite all these people to a wedding, feed them, give them drinks, but often you'll see a bag of M&Ms or take home this little jar of honey with our name on it.
This tiny little bottle of wine with our name and wedding date.
Yes, thank you for coming to our wedding. Yeah. I did a wedding once where they had a raffle. That was over the top and awesome.
Yeah, that sounds fun.
But what I tell people is you can get magnetic sleeves for the photo booth and put those magnetic sleeves at each place setting, and you can have a little table tent thing that says, please visit the photo booth and capture the memories forever and save it in this magnetic sleeve.
That's cool. So your party favor, your favor for your guests is also incorporated into your
trip to the photo booth.
Which is going to probably encourage more traffic to the photo booth, which means more pictures for the bride and groom of their guests and their family having fun.
Right. And they're more likely to put it on the fridge when they get home because it's already in a magnetic sleeve.
Right.
And not just get lost somewhere. And it is interesting to think because while photos can get lost, we all probably have that shoebox of photos somewhere, right? That are very, very special to us.
Sure.
And so it's always interesting to think some of these photos are going to go into a shoebox and be very special. That in years from now, they're going to open up that shoebox and they're going to be like, remember when we went to that epic bash?
It's always about
wasted
making memories.
And I had to drive you home.
That's the one thing that I love. One of the many things that I love about doing weddings is that we're there helping these people make some of their lifelong memories.
Yes. I like how you put it. We're not creating our memories. We're creating your memories.
We're helping to create your memories. That's what we're there for.
It's funny you say that. I had somebody
we
once.
Have the greatest job in the world.
We do. We're very lucky. With the scrapbook, to wrap it up real quick, I've had people tell me, like they thought it was my scrapbook. Like I was going to take this scrapbook home. And I was like, no, this is for the bride and groom.
No, I don't want to see these pictures of these people that I don't know.
So
as much fun as we had together,
right?
I got to move on. You guys keep these memories.
Yes.
I got to go make other ones.
And speaking of moving on, that wraps up this episode.
Yes, we're done.
We have had a blast with this one talking about photo booths. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for listening. If you're listening on any of the platforms, make sure to check us out and spread the word. Remember, don't just throw a party.
Throw a bash.